Today's roundtable has been an absolutely fascinating insight into a variety of very different companies, but actually a consensus that export is the place they're going to grow. IOD members are quite an adventurous lot in export terms. A report out earlier this week suggested we could add £50 billion to the economy if mid-sized companies were able to match their peers in France and Germany in particular. And there are still substantial returns for SMEs, particularly outside Europe.
I've spent 30 years within the finance industry, but also spent a few years out setting up an SME of my own, which is very insightful around how you view banks and how banks can support you with international trade. Actually, that relationship should come down to which markets can they help you grow with. How can they help you from a knowledge perspective? How can they help you from a funding perspective across that international supply chain?
Everybody has a different challenge to face, and yet all of the different companies have got some common issues that they need to really tackle. There's the financing issues, there's dealing with different cultures around the world. There's partnering with different people within the countries that they want to trade within. And all those things are common to everybody sitting around the table.
For years we had this idea in our heads that USA was unusually high risk because of the litigation side of it, the aspect of things. And eventually I went to a course that was done by something called the Greater Richmond Partnership. And they brought along one of their attorneys, and within half an hour he'd taken away all that prejudice that I had, and that opened up the doors. They got us set up, and now we're trading out there, doing very well.
I think my experience, being around a long time, we still only have 1% of our marketplace from the US because I'm still frightened after 33 years of going into the States. I don't want to be sued.
I think America represents such a big opportunity for lots of British companies that perhaps it isn't the right market to go to first. We've sort of used Sweden, where we launched in 2010, as a bit of a laboratory. It's probably true of everything in business. The key thing is relationships.
Our approach now, having learned some of the lessons from that with Quill, is actually to try to open up the markets in a purely digital way. So we're launching German, Chinese language websites before we put people on the ground in an effort to win revenues and business and clients that way.
We can compete head to head with the existing entrenched publishing companies within the US. So what we did is we identified a very clear niche which would not interest them, but we already were covering.
Really wanted to be involved today because it's really nice to actually look at the export side from different marketplaces and experiences from different companies outside our normal sphere of people we go and talk to, and it's just give you a lot of confidence to know that maybe you're doing certain things right and other things you could learn a lot from sort of other marketplaces. We've been doing it for sort of 35 years, and we did it by marketing by error, by people coming to us, and what they did UKTI was they kind of focused it really well for us and made us do a lot more research before we actually started going into a country.
If you take advantage of their overseas report and get the local embassy to do a report in your market, you'll come back with all people that they've contacted who they think would be suitable to have your product.
Could I move a bit to talking about finance and how you funded your international expansion?
With due diligence and a very good credit controller, we're still going in kind of blind. We don't understand the culture there. We've spoken to our bank and they said, yes, we're willing to help, but then they've sacked everybody that used to help us, and now it's going back to somebody who probably doesn't understand our business at all.
My opinion of the banks is that I don't think they do enough around the relationship.
You can never undervalue the local relationships you have with your bank manager and the continuity of that relationship. So rather than having a number of new relationship directors over a short period of time can be very frustrating.
We've now moved to a bank where I have a direct mobile phone number to an individual who's taken the time to get to know us as a business, and with whom I'm hoping I can build a longer-term relationship with.
Yeah, the things that stood out today, there was a number of things. First of all, finance, and it's very important that you have the right bank behind you. It was great to see Santander here today. Without the right bank, without feeling that you have a business partner there, it is much more difficult to succeed overseas.
we decided very early on that we were trading in different and local currencies. So with the euro, we're very early on, then we went to the US dollars. And it's quite interesting when we started working with the banks to say what we need is a US-based bank account. We were getting a check, it would come over here, it would then go back across the Atlantic, be registered over there, and then it would have to come back again. It was the best travelled check ever.
What I'll take back and report back to the other directors is that we need to probably set our stall out a little bit better and do due diligence on the markets that we're looking to work into, rather than following an order that we've picked up at a trade fair thinking now we've got into that country.
How did you develop contacts locally in the markets that you moved to? I mean, your peers there, what was your relationship with them? How did they see you entering the market?
We spent a long time developing the relationships with those people because they reflect on what we do for our clients.
We are increasing our presence in Mexico, and we're doing that with a very large retailer in the US who has 500 stores in Mexico, and they can provide us local information.
Where is the growth going to be in the next 3 to 5 years? Is it BRIC countries, MINT countries? What would you be saying to the generality of British SMEs you should be looking at?
I mean, there's a lot of talk about America, but actually we find Asia needs to be a focus for us. We can't trade in China because they still require mandatory annual testing, but in South Korea, which is the #1 market by a long way, we are able to work. And
looking to the future, we will follow car sales figures. It's very simple. So we'll be looking at Brazil. Actually, in fact, we are looking at Brazil. We are looking at China.
Our largest export market is Japan. We've developed Hong Kong, and we feel China is coming on because they want high brand British goods out there, and that's where we feel there's huge potential.
It's not always just countries as well. You may have a product that is actually for a slightly different market that you're using it here in the UK for. We've got a brilliant example of that. We do a range of smoke dampers which are used in hotels and hospitals here, and we looked at a particular market which was the luxury yacht side, and then we hadn't even thought about it, and they're very strong in Italy and in Sweden from a manufacturing point of view.
The last 3 years they've been running the Britain is Great campaign, and that has really helped international trade for British made products, I think, and it has brought to countries throughout the world the importance of having a British made product. In the UK we don't know anything about it.
That is really interesting. I can tell you, I'm having breakfast with the Prime Minister tomorrow, so I will make that specific point because he's bound to ask about this. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.